Hi everybody, it's Valerie with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and we are going to be working with Designs by Shellie's Tranquil Garden paper today. This paper is really beautiful. It comes in shades of lavenders and greens, has some beautiful rose patterns and some wonderful graphics of the garden and garden benches and ladies in beautiful dresses. Kind of reminds me of the Titanic era. I'm going to be using more of the green striped paper today, along with some of the purple flowered paper. And later on, I'll show you the original dress that I made out of this using more purples and less greens. So we'll run through this paper pad real quick and take a look. There's a little hat. We're going to be using the flowers and the things off of that today too as well. So these are the sheets that I'm going to be using. I'm going to use that far left one, green one, for the bodice. And then the green striped with these little frills on it, and then the purple striped for the underskirt, and the top skirt's going to have the big bold stripes on it. This particular dress comes in 2 layers of skirt pattern. The bottom is pleated with a small pleat, and the top one is pleated with a larger pleat, and you'll be able to see those later. I also changed my mind about the bodice and changed the neckline to a square neckline, which is more for that era. I will go ahead and include both of the neckline pieces for you. And then, of course, a big old floppy hat. So first of all, I'm going to line up my top skirt with the larger stripes, as you can see. And since I have stripes and I don't have a pattern that can be used upside down, it doesn't cause a problem. If your pattern can't be turned around, you'll have to use more sheets of paper. With the larger underskirt, I'm going ahead and cut it from the bottom to the top of the length of the paper. For now, and I may cut it down later, but for right now I'm just going to go flip these back and forth because once again my pattern can be flipped upside down in this particular piece. Once I got that done, I cut out my bodice piece, and I'm going to do as I usually do and use my color box inks to go along the edges of my bodice because I don't like the white edges. So I'll use my brush sticks and clean up the edges of the bodice around the sleeves and the neckline. It's pretty simple to do. It only takes you a couple seconds to just go along the edges. Now we're going to go ahead and put the score marks in for the pleats. And after I got them all cut out there, I can show you that this is my top piece. It's a little bit shorter. And then the bottom piece, I'm actually going to go green, purple, green, purple, green, purple. So I'll get kind of a striped effect underneath. On my scoreboard, I think I mentioned this before, I put a long pencil mark, which makes it easier for me to do my scores. I line up the top score mark, and then I go to the other end where the line extends, and I line up the bottom score mark, and that way I don't have to run a line across my whole piece of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and score all these pieces so that we can get them ready to pleat. Folding the first one in on the larger pleated pieces, it's important because that's how we have to connect them. So you'll just go back and forth like a fan, but just like I said, make sure that your first piece is folded in and not out. Make sure you fold them really nice and tight. And then scored the second one with only 2 scores, so they kind of look like a half of a almost like a box. We're going to add Scor-Tape because we are going to use Tyvek paper to put these together like we did our last heirloom dress. So I'm cutting my sheets of Tyvek now into about 1/2 inch wide pieces, and they're probably about 8 inches long, just the length of the skirt pieces. And then a little 1/4 inch Scor-Tape to put them together. So I'll put Scor-Tape on the side of each of these pieces, and this is the Scor-Tape that we have here at J&S. And then you put your Tyvek half on the edge, so half of it is sticking out like this. And you can see there it's half on and half off. Then you take your other piece of your skirt and line it up really close to the edge so that they touch. And this is how you attach the seams. So after you put the Tyvek on, make sure that you crease the edges really well so that you get a nice little pleat in there. And just continue to add all the sides just like that. Here's the top skirt done. All the Tyvek pieces inside and refolded. We'll set this aside so that we can do the second skirt the same way, using the Tyvek pieces that I've already pre-cut. Using your Scor-Tape, and you're just going to do exactly the same thing. Run them all along the sides and then refold them and crease them. Now, this is the underskirt that's completed, and before I actually put it together, I was smart this time and decided to add my bling to my seams before I actually made this skirt. The last time I did it, it was a pain to actually add the bling. So you can see the Tyvek. I'm going to grab my bling, silver bling on a roll. Since there's an overskirt on this, I don't need to actually run the bling this whole length, so you can see this skirt's pretty long, so you only need about maybe 4 inches of bling from the bottom up. So I'm going to pull off this extra that I don't need, and I'll just use this piece for the next seam. So I'm going to just use my art glitter glue and glue those pieces all along each of the seams. So that way if you make a little mistake, you can actually just kind of cover it up with the bling. Makes your life a lot easier. And once you're done, you put that last piece of Tyvek on and finish off the skirt. And there's our other skirt. Now on the upper skirt, I found that if I didn't glue the pieces together in between, as you can see, I'm kind of pointing out where I've glued them together. When I put it over the top of the second skirt, it fell down over it. So I actually had to take those seams, those inner seams, and add a little extra glue to them. I also put some lace, 1.5 inch lace at the bottom of this top skirt. And here's our bodice with the square neckline. I'm going to go ahead and put some Scor-Tape right here at the bodice and put the pleats in for the front of the bodice. And then there's a little piece that sticks out once you do that I just go ahead and cut off right there. It doesn't need to be there, even though we're going to cover it later with lace. It's just easier to cut it off. And after that, I'm going to score the back pieces and fold them over, add a little Scor-Tape to these. And then once I'm done pulling the Scor-Tape off and putting them together, my bodice will be complete. Sometimes you have to squish it in a little bit to get it to fit on top of the skirts. But as you can see, I had a little problem getting it over the double skirts. So what I ended up having to do was, like I said, glue these inner pleats together really, really well. And then I cut some little pieces, some little tabbies down. So the little tabs I cut down, I cut 2 in the front and 2 in the back. And then I added some Scor-Tape to them, and that's how I'm going to attach the bodice. And believe me, you'll want to attach the bodice to the top skirt before you put it on the bottom skirt. I had some issues, so I'm letting you know. So grab those little tabs. I used my X-Acto knife to kind of press them inside there. And as you can see the little tabs sticking up there in the back of the bodice. There's 1, 2. Now that it's attached to the top skirt, I then pressed the bottom skirt inside and added a little glue. So this is our 3-inch lace. I call it kind of our wedding lace. I cut a piece and attached it around the bodice where it attaches to the skirt. So it covers up that seam. Turned out really pretty, and it perfectly wraps around. Then I took the edge pieces and I actually cut them out, and because one has a little flower, it only has a flower on one side, I cut it off and then I attached it to make it look like it has a flower on both sides. You'll see this in a minute. There you can see I used it for little sleeves with one of the little tiny flowers I detached and then reattached in the front. I'm going to use some of our flat back pearl strands and some of our brand new Prima Flowers. I think these are the Helena brand. And I'm going to attach those to the dress for some embellishments. So here's my flowers that I put down the front. And then you can see that I have the pearls that I put around the top of the collar. Time to make the hat. So I'm going to cut out my pieces, draw them on, and get the crown out. And then before I actually took the pattern apart, I used those cut lines so I'd know how far to cut for the tabs. I've put these hats together a couple times, and they take a little extra time. So once I cut off the tabs on the top piece, I used it so I'd know where my circle was on the inner part of my brim and on the top. So I just kind of drew that circle there so I'd know where to fold the tabs. And I start to fold the tabs in. I'm also going to fussy cut out this feather off of the hat from the paper and attach it to the side of the hat. So there's my little fussy cut piece of feathers. And I'm going to attach it to the side of the hat right here. And then take one of those beautiful Prima Flowers and attach it right in the middle to match the dress. So there's my dress. It's got my little Tim Holtz hanger in it, which I told you before inspired making these dresses to begin with. And it's all finished. This turned out extremely full. The skirt at the bottom is probably almost 12 inches wide when it sits down. It turned out really pretty. And in a couple minutes, I'm going to show you the original dress. You can see a corner of it right there. But here's a little hat from our dress that we just finished. In the back of the dress. Sorry, the light's kind of bright, so it's hard to see. The original dress was actually made out of the same Tranquil Garden paper pattern, but I used the purples, and then I didn't put the top skirt on. So this is just the bottom skirt, made the same way as we just made the other skirt with different paper, and one set of bling going down it, little hat that matches with some of the Kaisercraft mini blooms. And I also added the Kaisercraft mini blooms to the top of the dress. I kept it very simple. This is the round collar that I talked about earlier, and I have ivory pearls trim on this dress. I went around the lace as well as around the collar. So you can find your free pattern for the Tranquil Garden paper dress at J&S Hobbies and Crafts website on our blog. So you'll need to go there to download it. And I hope you had a wonderful time with this dress pattern. It was a lot of fun. We have another one coming soon, and here's your little preview of the next one to come. Hope you have a wonderful day and happy crafting, everyone. Bye.